Well, hi friends, my name is Ashish Chandra, and today we're going to discuss one of the most important components of English grammar, and that's subject verb agreement. Trust me, guys, when I see people communicating in English or writing in English, perhaps the most commonly made mistakes arise from a misunderstanding or ignorance of the subject verb agreement rules. I believe that in order to become accurate at English, a proper understanding of subject verb agreement is imperative, it's a must. And I've seen a lot of videos on subject verb agreement that are available on YouTube. I have read a lot of articles on the internet. Unfortunately, they leave the main ailment undiagnosed. So based on my experience of dealing with learners, I have designed this video, and especially those problems that maybe arise when it comes to subject verb agreement are what I have dealt with in this particular lesson. So stay tuned and watch this video till the end, because every rule that we have dealt with in this video is critical to your understanding of subject verb agreement, and if you miss any of those, then your understanding will not be complete. Alright then, so let's get started. So we'll start with a game. I'm going to ask you 10 questions, not really a set of questions, but rather I'm going to show you 10 sentences. What you need to do is to choose the correct verb in each of these sentences. Well, here are the sentences. Okay, great. So assuming you paused the video and have chosen the correct verbs in your mind, now let's look at the answers. And as I discuss the answers, we will also understand the different guidelines for subject verb agreement. Let's look at sentence number 1. So sentence number 1 is, India and England is or are friends now. Well, the correct answer is, India and England are friends now. So remember this rule, guys. If two singular nouns are connected with and, they take a plural verb. That's right. So you can also say the computer and the mouse are on the table, or Ram and Sita are going to the market, and so on and so forth. Of course, there are some exceptions to this guideline as well. That's why we call it a guideline in the first place. There may be times when we have an and separating two nouns, but they convey a single item. For example, bread and butter is important for everyone, or fish and chips is the staple breakfast of England. So there you go. When I say bread and butter, it conveys one item. When I say fish and chips, it conveys one food item. And because they convey one item, we treat it as a singular subject and thus use a singular verb with it, which is what the golden rule in subject verb agreement is. We'll apply a singular verb with a singular subject and a plural verb with a plural subject. The problem, of course, arises in subject verb agreement because a lot of times people find it very difficult to identify what the actual subject is. And that's what we'll learn to decode and identify through the different guidelines in this lesson. Let's go quickly to sentence number 2. Okay, so sentence number 2 is, neither Sachin nor Sehwag is or are blonde. By the way, I have great respect for both Sachin and Sehwag. They are two of my favorite players. I think the golden era of Indian cricket has gone with these two cricketers having retired, but let's not talk about cricket right now. Anyway, so yes, the correct answer to this sentence is, neither Sachin nor Sehwag is blonde. So here's the rule for you. Remember that if you have neither and nor in the sentence, the verb will agree with the nearest subject. So if you look at this sentence, the nearest subject is Sehwag, which is a singular subject, and therefore we use a singular verb. If the sentence was different, if let's say we used a plural verb, a plural subject nearest to the verb, let's say the sentence was neither Sachin nor his team players. In that case, we would use a plural verb. We would say neither Sachin nor his team players are blocked. Okay, so that clarifies rule number 2 for us. The next sentence was the leopard or cats climb or climbs the tree. So in this case, the correct answer is the leopard or cats climb the tree. So again, just like we did in neither and nor, here too, we'll make the verb agree with the nearest subject, which in this case is cats. If let's say we changed the subject and if we made it singular, if we said the cats or leopard, then we would of course use a singular verb. And we would say the leopard or cats, the cats or leopard climbs the tree. So yeah, again, if you have or in the sentence, make the verb agree with the nearest subject. That's your rule, guys. Okay, just one point I want to make here very quickly is, a lot of times people misunderstand what a plural verb is. So for example, generally, when we use a plural noun, we use an S with it. So computer is a noun. If you use an S with it, it becomes plural. But with verbs, it's different. If you add an S to a verb, it becomes a singular. So climb is a plural verb, but if we add an S to it, it becomes singular. So just keep that in mind when you have sentences like these and have to decide your verb. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Trump, not his wife, is or are the President of the United States. So in this case, the correct answer is Trump, not his wife, is the President of the United States. So if you have a sentence in which you have the subject and then some comments, go with the subject. Ignore the comments. In this case, the subject is Trump, which is singular, so we'll use a singular verb. You can also have sentences like he, along with those people, is going to the market. Ravi, alongside his buddies, has come here. So again, we'll ignore the comments, alongside, along with, and we'll just go with whatever the subject is. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Let's go to the next one. A king as well as a pawn go or goes back to the same box. Here, the sentence will have the same rule which we applied in the previous sentence. A king as well as a pawn goes back to the same box. So as well as is a comment. The subject is king, so we'll go according to the king. I think we always go according to the king, don't we? Well, sometimes we should not. Anyway, so a king as well as a pawn goes back to the same box. Ignore the comments and go with the subject. Okay, number 7. Each of the UN Security Council members are or is powerful. So the correct sentence here, guys, is each of the UN Security Council members is powerful. And hold on, I know that this may sound confusing to you a little bit. It is, because after each you have clearly a plural subject, that's UN Security Council members, but we will still use a singular subject. And that's not because I want it. I wish that were the case, but that's not because I want it. It's because we have each in the sentence. And each, every, nobody, no one, somebody, someone, all of these are known as indefinite pronouns. And all indefinite pronouns take a singular verb. Okay? So you can say each of these books is good. None of these books is good. Somebody is missing. You can use the singular verb in all such cases. Alright, so do keep that in mind. Number 8. $8 billion is or are needed to eliminate poverty. First of all, I'm not certain about the number. It's just an out-of-the-box sentence. Not an out-of-the-box sentence. It's just out-of-my-head sentence. Yeah, so the correct answer is $8 billion is needed to eliminate poverty. And the reason why that is because when you talk about amount of money, time, measurement, or quantity, you always use a singular verb. So $8 billion is an amount of money. We'll use a singular verb with it. Next, 5 years is or are a reasonable amount of time to bring change in the country. So again, guys, 5 years is an amount of time. Any guesses? Yes, that's right. We'll use is here because it's an amount of time. Maybe 5 years and it may sound plural, but because it's an amount of time, we'll use a singular verb here. Let's go to the last one. Neither of the countries is or are innocent. First of all, I think this is perhaps the trickiest of all sentences, and that's why I've kept it for the last. You keep the worst for the last, don't you? Yeah, some people say you keep the best for the last, but I keep the worst for the last. Anyway, so neither of the countries is innocent is the right answer here. So you may be confused here because we are using countries and it is plural. But remember, if you have only neither or either in the sentence, you use a singular verb. Okay? Neither, either, these are distributive pronouns, and the distributive pronouns, we use a singular verb. Now, I think that one of the things that may also confuse and puzzle you is our previous example, which was to do with neither and nor. The second sentence that we looked at, neither Sachin nor Sehwag is blonde. So there we used is because we were also using nor, and when you have neither nor, either or, you go with the nearest subject. But if you only have neither, if you only have either, then you use a singular verb. So you can also say neither of these boys is talented. Either of these employees is at fault. You can use examples like that. Okay, great. So that brings us to an end of this really long video. Hopefully you liked it and hopefully you found this of great value. And I do hope that it helps you avoid and get rid of the errors that people mostly make in subject verb agreement rules. And if it does help you, let me know. You can send me a thank you note in the comments below if you want to. But yes, please do share it with those of your friends who also may need this video, and do not forget to subscribe and press the bell icon for more such updates in the future. Also guys, I have a book which is Set English for Everyone. It's available on Amazon, and in this book I cover English language learning from A1 level to C1 level. Do buy that book on Amazon, and I'm sure it will do you a world of good. Until next time, bye-bye.